turned toward them. They started shouting, telling us it's our fault. It's a very tense environment. So what law enforcement will now do is try to prevent any kind of retaliation.
Exactly. And the agency right now at the center of this, on the scene, is the Secret Service, which is conducting a live investigation. I want to bring in CBS News contributor AP Smith, who was on the phone with us, a former Secret Service official. Can you hear me?
Yes, I have you.
Go ahead. What are you hearing from your former colleagues about what may have transpired? And based on your training, what are agents focused on right now?
Well, obviously, securing that scene and beginning an investigation is the utmost important, but that follows only making sure that the former president is safe and that, he's now in hopefully a medical facility where things can be looked at. So there's probably multiple things going on at the same time. It looks like, from the standpoint of what we saw, the video and the pictures so far, that the Secret Service reacted in the way that they're trained to do. The assault team, which you saw, the tactical team come up on stage, they're there to cover while the agents working the president, either renders medical aid to him or evacuates him completely to get him out of harm's way. So all of that looks like it occurred in the way that it should.
And AT, your former colleagues, the Secret Service trains for this. I mean, I've done reporting at their training facility here outside of Washington, where there is there's a site that's a replica of a city where they train in cars to see if there is an attack on the president. What do you do? Where do you go? How quickly do you respond? And what you describe shows that training kicking in. You see agents rushing the president off site. You see agents in plain clothes clearing the crowd. This is now a crime scene. We have video, cell phone video, showing someone who appears to be potentially the assailant, possibly on a roof. AT, talk to us about the security protocol when it comes to the area outside a perimeter and an open-air event like this. It's one thing to usher people through metal detectors and wad them down, but you can't control the sky. You can't control, parts of these areas that are outside the perimeter. How does the Secret Service account for that?
Well, and that's what the investigation probably will end up showing us. How far away was this assailant? What sort of access did he have? As you said, the security in these kinds of events, whether they're indoors or outdoors, or really, if you think of it, there are three concentric circles. There's an outer perimeter, a middle perimeter, and the innermost perimeter, which is closest to the protectee, the former president. So it will be interesting to see what the distances are here, and whether or not something nefarious occurred that they may yet have to get to the bottom of. But to your point, the Secret Service agents train constantly for this kind of an event at the Raleigh Training Center in Beltsville, Maryland. There's a mock sound, there's mock motorcades, and obviously they practice these kinds of events. And from the video, you can see how they responded, and that is the essence of what their training is. And not only that, you saw how close the former president's limousine was to the stage. So part of that is the equation as well, to be able to not only secure him, render what medical aid he may need immediately, which is probably why they stayed there a little longer than you would normally think. Instead of just grabbing him and rushing off stage, they wanted to make sure that anything they might do in that regard wouldn't further injure him. So they want to make sure that...
I want you to hold on the line for just 1 second, because we are getting word that President Biden has issued a statement. I want to go to Ed O'Keefe, who has that statement with him. Ed is in Milwaukee. Ed, go ahead.
Adriana, the president has issued a written statement saying, I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it. CBS News can also report that the president will be making a statement in person or on camera later tonight. It is unclear where exactly, but he is at his beach house in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And we're seeing word that the motorcade has left that house. So he may be going to a facility there in Rehoboth Beach that can be used for unexpected, unforeseen events like this, when he might have to make some kind of a statement. It's unclear, but we'll wait and hear. We should also point out there have been statements tonight, rare ones, from George W. Bush condemning this violence and saying he too is relieved to hear that former President Trump is safe, and former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle saying much the same. It's not often that you get former and current presidents making statements on anything, but obviously in a situation this grave, it is completely understandable. What exactly the current president might say and how he would speak to this tonight and this attack on his bitter political rival remains to be seen, but it's going to be arguably one of the most challenging statements any sitting president's ever had to make at a time of this apparent, just ongoing sort of cleaving of the country and the nastiness of its politics. Adriana.
A nasty time in politics and a horrific day in America. Thankfully, former President Trump is safe. We're being told by his campaign as well as the Secret Service. The Secret Service, of course, their security is at the center of this. I want to bring A.T. Smith back into this conversation. A.T. is a former Secret Service official, and we're getting new information, A.T., that this is being called a sniper incident and that this person was outside of the perimeter. Tell us what it means when something's labeled officially as a sniper incident. What does that mean to you, and especially for agents working this on the ground?
Well, if that does turn out to be the case, then obviously it would be someone with a very long-range rifle, similar to a deer rifle or something like that, with a long-range scope. So if, in fact, someone was in a place outside of that perimeter and were able to do that, it would have had to have been quite a distance. Going back to what I said a moment ago, the normal security plan is going to involve 3 concentric rings of security, an outer, a middle, and an inner perimeter. If this person somehow made their way beyond that and was able to do this, that will be a point within this investigation, to try to determine what happened and why it happened, quite frankly.
And A.T., how large are perimeters for these types of events? I mean, for someone to have been able to breach the perimeter, have been posted potentially outside of it, and have the precision that they may have had. All we know is we see some blood on the president's ear. How wide is the perimeter usually?
It really depends on the venue. If there's natural barriers between, sort of the outskirts of the perimeter and a farther distance, and we're talking about, natural obstructions, then that is going to play a role in how big the perimeter becomes. It sounds like, if what we are hearing here is correct, and this person was in fact neutralized, there was a counter sniper team there whose responsibility it is to be on the lookout, to constantly monitor these long-range potential threats. And if, in fact, that is the case, and that's what happened, and they did neutralize him, it sounds to me like the counter-assault team, the counter-sniper team reacted correctly. And again, if they've killed this suspect, then that's part of why they're there.
It is now the top of the hour, and I want to recap for anyone joining us.
Wow.
The hard-to-believe incident that has recently transpired. Former President Trump, while addressing a crowd of thousands in Butler County, Pennsylvania, ducked as he heard, and the crowd heard shots ring out. The former president was swept away by Secret Service agents, as we're seeing right now in the video. And even after he ducked down, you heard those shots continue. We are being told that the assailant has been neutralized, has been killed, and our local affiliate reports that another person, an attendee of this rally, has also been killed. We have reporters who were there on the ground, who've spoken to eyewitnesses who describe, of course, a chaotic scene. One person conducting CPR on a victim who that person said was shot in the head. We're going to slow this video down so you can see it in detail. The former president, addressing crowds, raises his right hand toward his ear and drops down toward the ground. It looks like he ducks down toward the ground. You see a motorcade leaving the area. There he is. On a hot day in Butler County, Pennsylvania, where, you know, there are folks behind him, there are folks in front of him, there's security and Secret Service that jump in hardly a second after this happened. I mean, they just appeared out of nowhere. Scott McFarland was there and saw all of this unfold. Scott, we're going to bring you in. Bring us back to that moment when you heard that noise, what you thought, and what happened in this scene.
It was uniquely jarring. Again, it had that same sound of fireworks, that same tone, that same volume, and that same rapidity, a series of about 8 to 10 of those. It took just a few moments, though, for us to realize it was something much more sinister than that. There would be no place for fireworks at an event like this. I was up on a press rafter, facing the former president from above, and those of us on the rafters jumped below to get beneath them, with all kinds of equipment and tables falling on top of us to shield ourselves. And we could look out and see other members of the crowd, of which there were thousands here today, doing the same, kind of face planting into the ground, into the grass, up against the bike rack barriers that surrounded all the chairs here. We could see after the former president was moved off the stage, some group of law enforcement in paramilitary gear rush as a unit to what would be the former president's right side of the stage. From our view, the left side of the stage, about 90 seconds after. Soon after that, we saw 2 helicopter landings, helicopters that almost immediately lifted back up. Behind me are cars that are in line to leave that haven't moved over the last hour. It may not move. It seems that they have stopped the departures from the scene. This is an active investigation, no doubt an active criminal investigation, and the crowd that didn't get out immediately is here now for quite a while. They're in their cars, air conditioning running, with the exits either closed off or slowed down. I tell you, this fairground's kind of in the middle of nowhere in Butler County, Pennsylvania. It's a populous county, but it's in a remote site, the type of site where you could have all the open space you'd need for hundreds, if not thousands, of rally goers. There's only a 1-lane road in certain stretches that gets you in or out of this area. It's going to be a very slow departure for those who are here. But we're only a couple hundred yards from businesses. There are some manufacturing businesses, there are some car dealerships on what is County Route 68, which is within sight of the fairgrounds. And there's a law enforcement presence there as well, Adriana.
Like you said, that area now under lockdown. Anyone who is still within the area has to stay put. A very rural part of the state, a 1-lane road, as you said. Scott, thank you for that eyewitness account. We're going to also show some video that our reporter Olivia Rinaldi, who follows President Trump, shot on her phone.
Oh my gosh. Okay?
Yes, don't.
We're okay, we're okay, we're okay.
Oh, when you're ready, on you. Move!
Sit down now. You okay, Scott?
Yes, sit down. Everyone sit down.
I can't see him. Where's our security?
We're going to bring in now someone else who was there, Senate candidate David McCormick, Republican candidate from Pennsylvania. Mr. McCormick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Please describe what you saw, what transpired, and where you were when all of this happened.
Yeah, well, I was in the front row. President Trump was facing the audience, and I was to his right in the front row. And he had just announced me and invited me to come up on the stage. And I was starting to get up on the stage, and then he said, "No, I'll call you up in a little bit." And about a minute or two later, there was a number of shots. The popping sounds, it was like 7 or 8 shots, and it wasn't clear exactly where they were coming from. It felt like they were coming to President Trump's left as he faced the audience. And, you know, it was just mayhem. There was the Secret Service immediately knocked him down and jumped on top of him. And then they got him to his feet, and they were surrounding him. and you saw this fifth come out of the group, or I think making it clear that he seemed like he was okay. I don't know if he was actually hit or not. There looked like there was a little bit of blood, but his fist came out as, I guess, a sign that he was okay. And then to my back, there was some commotion, and I looked over my shoulder. Everybody was, the moment the shots happened, everybody got down on their knees or down on their, laid down. And unfortunately, someone to my rear in the bleachers had been hit. And the people around, it looked like it looked like a large man. People were trying to administer first aid, and there was blood everywhere, unfortunately. And eventually, within a few minutes, the police came and carried that person out, presumably to get the kind of emergency care they needed. But it was obviously a very frightening moment. It was clear that the president was under attack, and it was clear that people were being hurt, and it wasn't clear whether there was one shooter or two shooters or whether they were done. And so you can imagine it was a crowd of 15,000 people. It seemed about 15,000 is what the law enforcement people had told us. And so you can imagine what kind of panic there was with this kind of horrible thing happening.
And David, stay with us. We just played video that showed that moment where everyone was crowded down. And in this crowd of thousands, everyone is just still, hardly moving as they react to what are the sounds of gunfire. People thought they were fireworks at first, and it became clear that it was gunfire. From your vantage point, how far were you from the president? You were in the first row, and could you tell if he was grazed, perhaps? I know you said you're not sure if he took a direct hit, but describe for me from how close you were what you could tell happened in terms of his potential injuries.
I really couldn't tell. I did see just a little bit of blood as they were going around him, and then, as I said, I saw the fist come out. But I couldn't tell the nature of his injuries. It all happened